I wonder if other forms of life can. As you close your eyes and listen to this, feel some kind of non-judgmental self-awareness, or maybe even a non-judgmental appreciation of their own beauty. I mean, a plant just doesn't have the right to criticize its own body shape or its own unique perfect design, does it? And you know, as you take a deep breath and think about it, a plant is a wonderful thing. And it's so nice, so pleasing, just to be able to think about a plant as if it were comfortable in its own skin. Would a tomato plant, or a carrot plant, or a beetroot plant, or a celery plant, or a ginger plant have nice feelings, a sense of comfort and self-belief in the beauty of its own body shape, an expectation of good health, and every day just go into a deep state of belief that everything will be okay, and breathe more slowly as their tiny little seedlings begin to form, so tiny, yet so full of promise as they grow into their own unique yet perfect shape, to give you the desire to eat a luscious tomato, sun-ripened, or a delicious carrot, orange and sweet, or a tasty stick of celery, crisp and crunchy, or a tangy slice of green ginger, leaving such a pleasant taste in your mouth, or freshly squeezed orange juice, tingling your taste buds. And it's so nice to have healthy food in your stomach, that wonderful feeling a thirsty child has and can want to drink. And you can wonder whether that's the way all these wonderful healthy plants feel when the rain falls and washes everything so that your skin looks so smooth and soft, and all feels well, and you can feel the energy stored beneath your skin or the surface of your leaves, floating in the breeze, natural energy that looks so beautiful, a gorgeous full shape bursting with energy that takes your breath away, a vitality and energy in every cell that cannot be criticized, and you can accept that this is how it's meant to be. Every imperfection is perfect, and you can allow your imagination, your sense of creativity to take over. Like when you have a dream that doesn't make sense, yet somehow you know it's telling you something. Maybe something very useful, like as a plant, how you hold your watering can the best way, for maximum elimination of spillage, or your spoon, and compared to before, the process of eating will become for you a pleasure, the like of which you have never experienced before, and your food will taste so much better and fulfill you so much more than before. And after swaying back and forth and flexing your muscles against the breeze to grow stronger, it will seem the natural and satisfying thing to do to accept a natural supply of energy from the soil and the air and the rain, and exercise in the breeze, and sometimes just relax and burn up natural body energy stored in your leaves for healing or just living, so that all energy is useful. Now I'd like to invite you to come with me on a journey that happened a long time ago, when you first started to make important decisions, before you had a sense of self-image. Decisions like, will I copy my mum and open up my mouth and let my tongue be a landing pad for a jet stacked with mushy warm stuff? And as you watch that healthy food go into the entrance of your face, you have no idea it helps you grow into a fit, healthy body. In fact, you have no idea you even have a body. And the idea that you have a very healthy self-image will come a little later. Your mother will never see it any different. So when the time comes, why should you? And isn't it wonderful how a helpless little baby, totally dependent on his or her mother for nourishment and support, can look into his mother's eyes and see non-judgmental love? And your mother teaches you, slowly and without fail, things like how to think for yourself and how to think of yourself, and to enjoy doing the things that make you healthy and strong, and allow your body to find a natural healthy balance between your size and shape and your strength and energy levels, and rest and repair. Heal yourself. And as you continue to do that, you can probably notice your breathing slowing down, heart rate slowing, blood pressure easing, as you allow random thoughts to float in and out of your mind, maybe in between having an internal conversation. or within an internal conversation. And sometimes you can notice a tendency to ruminate on certain thoughts, and that if you stare at something long enough, what should look right looks wrong, and then that becomes the new truth. Like playing with your toy truck all day and wishing it was a cool sports car. Does your car have a self-image problem? Like some cars think that if they carry less fuel, they'll be lighter. They don't realise that fuel isn't a part of you. It's just something you carry to spend later. Now that reminds me of a man who had a car that was very self-conscious about its own weight. So he stopped putting water in the radiator because each litre of water weighs a kilogram. But after that, the car started to overheat and get tired, and didn't want to get out of his garage. And when he occasionally did, the car hardly burnt up what little fuel the man put in the tank. Now some people like to keep their cars running on empty, where the inconvenience and cost of running out of fuel possibly outweighs the cost of even more fuel needed to carry the weight of the extra fuel, or the frugality of running on the last drop is outmatched by the spark and explosion of burning up that extra energy. And there are some people who constantly check out their car's body shape. They can't take their eyes off their own body. They're obsessed by it, staring at themselves, eyeing off their own tail end in their own rear vision mirrors, and checking out under their own hood, instead of watching the traffic. They don't even realise they're doing it, let alone that there are better things to think about. Then there are some cars that think that carrying a load of groceries in the boot makes you fat. It doesn't, and that's a fact. And if that grossly incorrect association of carrying weight with carrying weight is to be believed, and you can suspend disbelief for the moment, you close your eyes, wait a little longer, and it becomes clear. The extra weight in the tank is virtually imperceptible, but the extra available energy is actually very noticeable. And the reliability of having at least sufficient energy to get to where you wouldn't mind going is appreciable. And you realise that you can now change your whole belief system to the merits of not running on empty, and to the merits of a petrol tank that is fueled up and ready for action. And your car can check out its own reflection without needing any more than a brief admiring look, and then drive on with energy and confidence. And you can stare obsessively at pictures of your perfect car in your glossy magazines. And in the past, it would have only made it worse. When you get in your real car, everyone can see how fat it seems, how fat you look in it, until you realise they've been sucked in by the advertising gurus, just like you. There are no fat cars, just different body types. And it's not so much about how many good looks you think you've got. It's more about how much energy you've got to get up and go that really counts. And if you think about it, your natural car body shape and its abundant energy supply when you fuel it upright is perfect for you, deserving of your respect, your non-judgment. And that reminds me of a man who went overseas on holiday and noticed that everyone had strange accents. And then, just as strangely, when he came home, he noticed that everyone was talking with overly exaggerated local accents, whereas he could recall quite clearly that they were all speaking with no accent at all before he left. So he went to speech therapy to make sure he didn't sound like everyone else. Only that didn't help, because it made them sound even worse. So he increased the frequency of his lessons, and that didn't help either. And after a while, he was starting to sound like a self-centered toff with an affected upper-class tone, very prim and proper. And of course, to himself, he sounded normal, and everyone else sounded weird, until he heard a recording of his own voice, and it sounded different. He couldn't see it, but it sounded a bit small, and surprisingly similar to everyone else. So he quit his speech therapy and took up singing, where you can't see your size when you sing, and where different people sing with different accents, but no one seems to mind. Now you may be surprised to hear a story about how a teenager was cured of terrible insomnia. He was told to go away on a camping holiday for 4 weeks and go somewhere where there are no mirrors. And a very interesting thing happened to that boy. His insomnia was cured, and so was his terrible acne, which reminds me of an old proverb. The best way to help someone is never tell them what they don't want to hear. Once upon a time, there was an ugly duckling who's actually very cute, with a young and impressionable mind. One day, a jealous big sister tells her she's fat and ugly. The ugly duckling looks at her reflection in the water, and she can see it's true. And the more she looks, the fatter and uglier she looks. So the little duckling becomes very sad and loses her appetite. She runs away from home and soon becomes very thin and weak. Then a farmer finds her and takes her home. He and his children care for her, and soon she grows big and healthy. Then one day the duckling sees some swans flying overhead, and they glide onto her pond. "We're swans like you," they say warmly. "Where have you been hiding?" And some children nearby say, "Look at that young swan. She's the finest of them all, and she's filled with happiness." I wonder if you've ever noticed the distorted view you get when you look along two parallel lines, like railway lines. They seem to join, way in the distance, out of sight, whereas you know they don't actually join. Yet they look like they do. And when you step a small distance away to the side of the tracks and look at the parallel lines from a square angle, they look parallel. At least the very small section of track closest to you does. But out of the corner of each eye, you can see that into the distance they slowly get closer together, even though you know they don't. And if you step back onto the tracks, you can notice that they look further apart than they looked when you were standing beside them. And your perspective is distorted, no matter where you stand. And it's interesting how quickly the brain reinterprets what it sees as something representing what it believes to be true. And those images of converging lines begin to really look parallel. And what doesn't look parallel looks parallel because you believe it is. And you can accept that because you know it's true. The train wheels are a fixed distance apart, and they ride comfortably on all sections of the track. So the tracks do their job perfectly, and the train can just enjoy the ride to its destination and be content in the knowledge that the size and spacing of the tracks have been designed perfectly, beautifully. Now, of course, most people would like to think that they are very attractive. But from whose perspective? Attractiveness is in the eye of the beholder, right? For example, if I find myself attractive, you might be curious, does that mean then that I really am attractive? Now, of course, of that, in my own mind, there can be no doubt. But even if I get it wrong, I'm still right. because attractiveness is a subjective value judgment, and because, when it comes to what I find attractive, in my opinion, my own opinion is the one I listen to, not others, unless they agree with me. So if you could successfully delude yourself that you are the most attractive human being on the planet, or suffer from the illusion that the opposite is true, in each case, what exactly would you be looking at, or becoming focused and absorbed in? Objectifying, subjectifying, or noticing what others don't seem to. And you might be curious what sort of things you would not be noticing. Now that reminds me of a man who found someone attractive, but that someone found themselves unattractive. So the man spent every spare moment, every opportunity to explain to this other person, slowly, detail by detail, why they are attractive in his eyes. And step by step, this other person grew to appreciate that your own persona and embodiment can be seen by others as attractive. Because if you, like most people, would like to think that you are attractive, and people are insisting to you that you are, who are you to argue? Why not join their reality? Now, with your permission, I'd like to offer you a new middle name. It's quite legal. People do it all the time. And if you're embarrassed about it, you can keep it a secret that your new middle name is gorgeous. You are gorgeous. That's your name. It describes you. Now the next step is to get people to start calling you by your new name. Maybe start with your best friend. You can pretend they've got the same new middle name as you when you greet them with "Hi, gorgeous," or leave them feeling good with "See you, gorgeous." Practice in front of the mirror. Once you get good at it, you can do it with everyone. And it won't be long before they realize that everyone is gorgeous. In fact, you're the one who's particularly gorgeous. And they'll start calling you by your new name. Like they did when you used to sit and play on the floor. And you can play with something interesting at the end of your foot and realize it's yours. A joyful discovery of what you later learn to be a big toe on your own body. A vehicle that will steer you through a most wonderful life. And a small baby does not have the right to call his own big toe fat. That wouldn't be allowed, even as a joke. And that beautiful little baby is taught very well all about self-image and believing that what you were given by those who came before is beautiful and precious, and make an important decision to look long enough into the mirror to affirm your own image and no longer, and think positively and behave naturally at all times. Play with your toy car. Enjoy life like you were raised to. And all you have to do is relax. Listen to the sounds of birds tweeting, creating a receptiveness to positive change, to an improved self-image, to the possibility of self-acceptance, to the removal of chronic negative self-judgment. When you truly believe in yourself, when you think about all the good things in your life, count your blessings whenever you can, every day. Dysfunctional thinking can be undone, replaced with what you decide you want to think about, replaced with attitudes and images you prefer to have. And as you listen to the birds, anything is possible. And when you find your true body, it can purify itself and digest the remnants of old scar tissue. It can extract the goodness and use it, and excrete what is useless from your body, to be left behind and forgotten. And now, unwanted thoughts and feelings that you used to have are your history and are history. And very soon the future will be now. And perhaps you can be conscious of the unbelievable view or the sounds of nature, and forget what you don't want to remember. And perhaps you can have an appetite for life. Partake of the gorgeous views. Gorge yourself on them, and drink in the sights. And perhaps you can eat your words and swallow your pride. Take your time and digest these suggestions, and not throw up any negative comments, as you find somewhere safe and warm where you can relax and just be the persona and embodiment you are, who you are meant to be.